From Tammy, the one. From Tammy, the one.
This is Tyler. Tyler, with Grammarly's help, is writing an email to his boss, Anita.
Right, we are live. Let's see how this goes. Just gonna pull this up. Can you guys hear me? I'm gonna assume it works. Welcome to this week's Friend Roast. I'm your host, Linkun, and we've got some awesome stuff to go over today. So, I guess that's it. Let's jump into it. This first one is by Wisdom. It looks like a radiator. Gosh, I just feel like something's not gonna work, but maybe.
Let this be another night to tie around my bed at night. I know I've lost the fight to erase your face, my mind.
Okay, louder voice. Is this good? Okay. I'm gonna just assume this is working alright. Alright. It's time. So, first up, we have Wisdom's radio. It looks really good overall. The model is super realistic. The first thing I actually notice is how stretched the texture on the floor is. Like, the texture on the siding, the wood texture looks really, really nice. But it's definitely stretched on the floor, and I think that kind of just makes it look a little bit wonky. Yeah, the bump on the radiator itself is super nice. Looks great. One thing that I think could make this a little more interesting. Okay, music down a few notches. Alright. I just got this up on my phone, so here we go. Okay. This seems good. Whew. Kind of a crazy time getting this set up, but I hope it's working. And I've got chat on my phone now, so I can see what you guys are saying. No music. Oh my. Oh, did the music just turn off? No, it should be there. Okay, everything's set up. Something you can do, so this is more just like a prop, and, you know, that's awesome. I really like the way you have a little, the way you've got this kind of spiral pattern in here, looks like. And the way you have the edgeware up here looks really, really good. Honestly, I think this is just super solid. Hopefully you're gonna put it into a bigger sort of interior piece, which would look really, really nice. One thing for Eevee is make sure that it looks like this texture doesn't definitely turn up the bump some on the wall texture. Yeah, the texture on the radiator Lego Atoms is super good. It looks great. The shadows down here are a bit pixely. I think that's just an Eevee thing, but you can turn up the screen space settings and the shadow settings to hopefully kind of minimize those little pixels on the bottom, like of the shadow area. And yeah, this is super good. It looks just like a radiator. I mean, there's not a ton else going on. So let's move on to your next one, which is the gun. So this is another Eevee render, it looks like. I love the way it kind of just, like, it's a lot of gun renders are kind of different, like, things that kind of feel just slapped together, but I actually think this has a really nice, kind of cohesive form to it, which is cool. Like the other one, there are some shadow issues in here. If I zoom in, whoops. there's definitely some weird screen space reflection things, and in here, that could definitely be eliminated with some more tweaking of settings, which isn't a big deal. Down here on the grip, it's hard to tell if you just used kind of like an image texture and just projected that on, or if that's like to the base color, or if that's a normal map, or... Austin, do you mean me? Do I have refs of actual radiators? I can look them up, but... I'm just... I mean, the radiator looks good to me, so... In terms of the modeling and texturing, it's pretty flawless, so I think we're good to move on. This grip thing down here is kind of funky in my opinion. It looks like the triangles are coming out instead of coming in, which is fine, but it just kind of, I don't think it would really work like that in real life, you know? You've also got the textures on the trigger area, and the textures in here are super awesome. I can tell you put some work into those. Looks really good. I think the biggest thing on this one is probably this glass. It kind of looks like it doesn't really have any depth or any, it's a little cloudy too. Like, I think if you maybe brightened it up or mixed it with just a transparent shader in the shader editor, you could get a clear view of these bullets or shells, and also just not have the glass itself be as noticeable, because I think the point really is to see the bullets underneath, so that's something to keep in mind. Also, the kind of metal wear along here fades really far into the flat plane of the gun. So if I were you, I would kind of keep that closer to the edge and maybe have a more kind of dielectric paint material in here that isn't like this kind of half metal, half paint, which you're getting because it kind of has a gradient that goes so far in. I really like the attention to detail up here by the muzzle. It would be cool if these kind of little coils actually like maybe emitted some light and lit up, because I think when like the energy is going through them, they kind of light up, and I think that would be really cool to show. And down here where that meets, something funky's going on. I'm not quite sure what that is, but you could either make that part of the metal, this part of the metal, and it comes in, so that it doesn't feel like there's a big gap of open space. But yeah, overall, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, good stuff. Next up, we have I'm Just Too Thick, and that was by Wisdom. Those were both by Wisdom, so awesome job, Wisdom. I'm Just Too Thick has this render of a sword, which looks like it's in a sand dune. I think it's a pretty good idea, but there's a few things that could be, Alright, Derek, I'll destroy this one. No, I'll destroy them all. Just kidding. Okay. Oh, love this. So, I think you need to just add more, really, because, like, really all there is just these dunes and the sword. Like, maybe you could have kind of flat area with like you could have a flat area with like a stone, like little monument thing with a sword in it, or there's a lot of stuff that would work, but you just need something more than just dunes. Also, this texture on the sand it's just, you either need to scale it down a lot, so to actually kind of represent some grains. Also, doesn't really have the kind of wave effect that, blowing sand does. So, you could use the displacement modifier slightly, and then, with wave texture to get kind of that, how sand is. It just bumps up and down a little bit as it goes along. Also, there's, like, you could do a lot more with, the banner on the sword. Like, I could see that being, like, almost a flag or some sort of thing that kind of wraps around and makes it more exciting. Just the way it is, like, it doesn't really contribute anything in the way it could. Because, you have it, so it might as well, like, be kind of exciting, because it's kind of unique. In terms of the sword model itself, it looks alright. But you could definitely kind of add like a little strip of color in here to the sword to make it a little more interesting and stand out better. So yeah, I think generally you just need to work on the visual quality of the sand, like the waves and the texture. Also try and focus on like having just more stuff that, because right now, like, literally the only thing to look at really is, this sword, and maybe the background is, I don't know, kind of could be curious about that too, but try and just add more and lay things out in a pretty way, and I think you're on a great start, and hopefully you can improve on some of those things. Okay, so next up, so that one was by I'm Just Too Thick. Thanks, I'm Just Too Thick, for submitting that. Here we go. We have a kind of reminds me of like a Victorian style house by Skolas33. This reminds me of like somewhere I saw like the house that Shakespeare was supposed to have grown up in. It kind of reminds me of that, actually, which is random, but just the feel it gives me. It's kind of an old Victorian vibe. You got some nice freestyle outlines in here. Is good. I think one of the biggest things with this one is honestly the irregularity in the beams is kind of just feels a little bit wacky, because like, obviously you want some variation and stuff, and like down here the way they are rotated differently looks great, but like on these where they're kind of different, like most of the time, wood is pretty consistent, and it's the actual changes are the way it's laid out, like down here. So I would keep the wood the same thickness, and maybe add some cracks or chips or stuff like that. Also, I think generally the kind of white areas kind of just feel like paper a bit. So just kind of work on, not really sure if it's the lighting or if it's the material, but that could definitely, making that more feel like stone or another just natural material could help. Also, just like, these are awesome models, but it's not really as special without some, like, context. Like, if you put in a scene and maybe made some trees and, like, a path, that could be a really powerful image. But with, like, that kind of old English or European feel. But right now it's just it by itself, which is okay, and it looks pretty decent overall. But adding it to a scene would just really help give it some, like, context and meaning. Also, the windows. I think you could do something cool with the windows. Maybe, like, have something coming out of them, or like people waving. I don't know exactly, but those are kind of a opportunity for some creative little things that you could take advantage of. So, yeah, I think, let's see, is anything else in here? I really do like the way you spaced out some of these on the bottom. Looks great. But yeah, just keep some of these more regular for the actual thickness themselves, I think could help. Also, it's like you've got freestyle, but it's not really tune shaded itself. So I'm not sure if you want that or not, but I think it could look really good with some more kind of cell shaded, tune shaded styles with the shadows, and the wood planks. Up here that's really soft, and that kind of doesn't go super great. The shadow's super soft. It doesn't go super great with the hard outlines of the freestyle. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I think that's about it for this one. So thank you for submitting that. It looks good. Definitely try and put it in a scene, really, and make it a more create some art out of it. All right. That was Skolas33. This one is also by Skolas33. It's a very cool scene. We got, like, I don't know, like a necromancer or something. That's awesome. Love that. And a really cool ground texture is pretty interesting. I think the first thing that comes to mind when I just see this is this. One of the main focuses of the scene is obviously this necromancer guy, and he doesn't really quite have enough like light to him. He's really being obscured by the mist, and I think if you maybe put like a light shining right on him, that could just bring him out more. Also, this lava texture, while it's okay, it's, I think it could be spilling out some, which would help. I don't know, it's just, like, it works fine, but you could just do more with it, make it a little more exciting, like if you had some runoff with lava and, like, some steam hissing out, maybe. That could really help the effect. Also, I'm not totally sure what this guy over here is supposed to be. Like, he probably is part of the story, but it's pretty unclear what he's doing. So you could just find a way to kind of help him, like, contribute more, because right now it honestly just feels like he's getting in the way of what's going on and the image. And ooh, I like these rocks up here. Those look nice. And this, where the mist is like cut out by a rock, it just doesn't really, like, and over here, I think, that's just kind of a silhouette, which it just doesn't look good, to be honest. Maybe keep this rock texture and light it from the front so that we know what these are. That could help, frame the image better too, if it just wasn't this black void. That's one of the biggest things for sure. Also, you've got a cool red light going on, which you should do more of. You should bring out that red light, make it stronger, because that looks really cool. It kind of creates a spooky effect. The candles don't really give off such a sharp, like shadow, like ring of light where you know what I mean, like down here, where that shadow is. So maybe bring the point lamp up, like up higher, so that it can shine down closer towards the candle and not have that weird circle. I don't know, that's a pretty small nitpick. And candles in here look awesome. The dead body obviously is the highlight of the scene. The cloth looks really good. You could actually, I think, tear up the cloth, maybe have the texture of it being different patches. That would look really awesome. There's also, the skull looks good, but yeah, the skull looks good. And so, I think, yeah, the body doesn't, like, this sheet is basically the same color as the ground, which doesn't really provide much, like, clarity in terms of what we're looking at, which is, the person. So making this different colors and ripping it up would just really, help the effect. Oh, wow, yeah, that rock does look, it just looks good. So you've got some good stuff going on here. And a few things you can fix and clean up on the sides, and brighten this guy up to, make it kind of just pop a little bit more. And, yeah, nice work. Next up is a cool alien by Ectotherm. Let me just check chat real quick. I haven't been on there in a little while. Ooh, whoops. Went away from my phone. That's okay. So, Ectotherm has made some pretty awesome aliens over the years, and this one is definitely a good continuation of that. I think I kind of imagine it like the alien is underneath this kind of rubber bodysuit. Like, I have a hard time picturing this as skin, so that might be what you're going for, which is totally cool. But if you are trying to actually have this look like, alien skin, then you could definitely maybe add more subsurface or just skin-like textures rather than kind of rubberish leather-like textures. I don't know. Also, these things on his neck, I mean, that's definitely intentional. It looks cool, but you should put them other places too, so it doesn't feel. Right now, it kind of looks like a sculpting mistake, which, I mean, I don't think it is, but you should use that kind of bubbly skin as kind of a motif maybe throughout his body, in different places like his arm, maybe his head. That would be really cool and kind of make him more memorable. Also, this guy definitely seems like, based on his, body stature, more like a predator than, definitely like more like a predator than something that would be preyed on. But his eyes kind of give him a derpy look, if that makes sense. Like, they're too far apart for a predator. you definitely bring the eyes closer together and kind of make them a little more fierce, which would really help that stand out. And the mouth could, I mean, yeah, for sure use, you know, like an actual slit and opening there. Also, there's a lot of chromatic aberration, dispersion stuff happening. And it, honestly, I wouldn't say reduce it, but you need to move the center of that so that the center is just around his face and his face isn't being distorted. Like, the top of his head is being way too, you know, dispersioned, I guess. But down here, it's like, you know, totally crisp. And then if we come down, oops, can't scroll down with the painting. But you should move the kind of the focus of that where it's not being, you know, having the dispersion up to his face so that the top of his head kind of is more the focus and the focus is less his neck. Not that his neck is bad, but you know, his face is obviously more important. Let's see what else. I think the lighting looks pretty good. Maybe you could use a few different colors in the lighting, like color the lights, to help just kind of accent the blue in his body. And you know, it is all blue. Like, you could add other colors to his body that kind of complement the blue to really help that. And I don't know what's going on with this this thing right here. This, yeah, like that kind of looks a little bit odd. Yeah, it feels like that should be like maybe like a wound almost. You could have some like alien blood or whatever, which would be super cool. But like kind of use those things to your advantage creatively, even if, you know, they're little weird things you don't really intend for. Cause right now just that black strip kind of feels a little out of place. Also, up here, the blue is raised up from the rest of the gray, which is a super awesome effect, but when it doesn't do it down here, it almost kind of loses, like it should be, you should raise the blue up whenever there's blue, so that it kind of feels maybe more like armor. I don't know, I just think that would be really cool. And yeah, definitely the mouth could be helped out a bit. And on the neck, these are very kind of organic, you know, almost look like weird, like super small tumors or something. I don't know. But they're very organic shapes and they're perfectly symmetrical across, basically, really. So with something that, you know, wouldn't form symmetrically on his body or, you know, wherever, you probably shouldn't sculpt it symmetrically either. Or sculpt it symmetrically and then, you know, mix it up afterwards. Because it just seems a little too uniform for, you know, how it probably would actually get there. So yeah, his torso seems alright. Yeah, I think good work. It looks pretty good. Just make sure you kind of use these, kind of make some meaning out of these little things so that it doesn't just feel like a mistake. And move the eyes towards the center so he seems more fierce. That's my 2 cents on this. So nice job, Ecto. And next up we got a rocket guy by Nerda. I think that's how it's pronounced, Nerda. Um, this is super super awesome. Looks like it's in, I don't know, real time engine like Eevee, maybe Unreal. Not totally sure, but it looks great. It's got tons of details. I love how it kind of all has like a center point up here in the chest. That's super cool. I think this is really good. Let's see. Oh, so this is, the pattern is stretching as he bends his knee, which makes a ton of sense. But down here, it's obviously not stretched, but you could add some, kind of how they do like the cloth wrinkles on some hard surface models to just really create a cool effect in the knees if it's like wrinkling cloth. That'd be super awesome. Also, I'm assuming this like bullet or whatever, the rocket I guess, is like flying, so probably use more motion blur on that to kind of, emphasize the motion. And yeah, these parts that I feel like they should light up, but right now they're just kind of metal. Like, I mean, that probably is what you were going for, but they're bright enough, like they create enough kind of like they stand out a lot, so you might as well make them light up like you do these things by the eyes. Give them some bloom, just really emphasize that they're like rockets. Also, some fire out of here honestly would just like add a lot to the render, because he's super high, like he can't just be levitating. So that would, like, that's not a necessary thing, but I think that would make it look super cool. On the arms, it kind of feels like this was just projected from like somewhere up here, I guess, just like the texture was projected onto the arm, which I can't, like, it looks okay, but I think really if you took some time and made a pattern to go with the UVs on the arm, then that could look a little more just natural, like it would be in real life. This metal thing is really cool, but the noise texture in here, the noise texture kind of honestly subtracts from it a little bit. Like, it would work better if you had more just it on the edges instead of just the whole thing being just straight up like the noise texture, you know what I mean? And it's definitely getting stretched down here. Watch out for that. I think you could spend a lot more time working on UVs in general for this and not relying on either, warp UVs or object or generated coordinates for textures. Like down here, this is kind of like the textures are super super distorted, which doesn't look good. You definitely need to fix that up. And not sure what this is up here. I'm assuming it's just a little mistake. Isn't a big deal, but just something to look at if you're going to revisit this. So I think in general, this is really cool. I love how you got the lighting, like complementing in here, and the kind of open sky aesthetic works really really nice for this. Like the way he's above the clouds, but you really need to focus on the texture projection, texture mapping, and kind of maybe thinking through a little more the design of like the fire and the rockets, the kind of the more moving active stuff in the scene other than the model himself. Yeah, the way these pieces on the chest kind of resemble like abs or ribs and then come in the center, that's awesome. But yeah, nice job, and if you revisit this, be sure to get that those texture mapping stuffs worked out. Thanks for that one, Nierda, and now we're moving on to this gun that Ray made. This is super crisp. Definitely looks like Eevee, but it's really well done. The absolute first thing that jumps out to me is like these lights. You know, they're just, you just gotta get rid of them. Like they really distract. Like there's just such a bright point that it distracts from the gun itself and makes you just want to look at the, bright points. So you're definitely using a volume, so either hide the volume from the camera, like the camera rays. I don't know, I think you can do that in Eevee now. You couldn't at first when it was in beta. But I think you can do that now. And maybe just hide the light itself too, so that you don't get this big bright circle gradient outwards, which kind of distracts, because you have this super nice crisp kick or rim light that you got, but then when you can see the light itself, it kind of loses the magic, in my opinion at least. So yeah, the textures on the this rail are really cool. I think more of it needs more wear. Like you've got wear down here, but it looks like this piece has been used just a lot more than these pieces. Like they're not the same age. Like this piece right here is, looks brand new, like it's just replaced. So I think being more, like you've got some good edge wear already, but it's not consistent. Being consistent with that could really help, make this more a little convincing. Yeah, the way you got this, these insets, that looks awesome. No shading issues. It's great. Check out some of the other versions. Oh, this one looks cool. So on the other one, this kind of back piece looked like metal. Whoops. Yeah, it looks like metal in here, but on this one, it looks like some sort of weird plastic. So, I mean, it's not a huge issue. They're probably all the same material, it's just the lighting differences that make it look funky. But, I think you should work on getting them to be a little more consistent throughout the different, series of renders. Also, I definitely see more edge wear on this side, but is that chunk a different color than, oh, no, it's the same color, just different lighting. Yeah, okay, so I see more edge wear on there, but, like still up here on the, plastic areas, that can use a lot more. I'm kind of a little bit confused by this reflection. Like, I feel like a gun wouldn't just be that glossy. I mean, if it is in your mind, then that makes sense, I guess, but it just feels a little bit weird to, me, the viewer. And also, it's kind of hard to, like, tell how I would hold this. Like, I'm, like, no expert on guns, but, like, I feel like this, bar right here would get really in the way. So, I guess just think through how, it would actually be shot and, like, used in, I don't know, like, a space battle or something. It's something kind of cool. definitely got a cool kind of sci-fi vibe to it, which I definitely appreciate. It looks great. But those are some things to take in consideration, the actual practical utility of the weapon. I think there's one more. This is a side view. Looks awesome. Yeah, see, when you can't see the lights, just the lighting itself seems so much more interesting. Like, it really helps. And of course, you know, we can tell there's a light right back here because of the arc that makes, the gradients. But like, that's not a huge deal. You might still want to hide the volume in this one just so you get more crisp and then less of that kind of weird feeling bleeding through. Oh, I noticed these kind of like little rivets. That's a super cool pattern, and you should use that maybe other places in the piece, like maybe along here, to add some more just like little details. I think that could be super cool. Yep, looks good. Definitely, I think this is a super awesome gun, but you really need to hide the volume that's scattering the light in the camera. So just like hide it from the camera rays, and or hide the lights. Both probably would help. And then give some more details, and really, when you're designing it, consider how it'll be held and shot. Nice job. Okay, we're moving on. That was from Ray. We're moving on to the old man render from Weekend. This looks really good. This is Eevee, which honestly seems crazy. It just, the subsurface scattering looks great. The thing that stands out to me that could be improved in this is the eyebrows. I mean, they just seem really thick. So, let me, I don't know, just look up a picture of old man, I guess. I don't, like, the eyebrows, I feel like as, you know, people get older, all their hair starts to thin, but like, they're not just such an intense color. It's more faded into the skin tone, almost. Like we've got here. So, I think that's probably the number one thing I would say on this one. Kind of just soften down the eyebrows, make them a little less pronounced. The expression in this is super awesome. The way he's kind of angry and got the furrowed brow. And the jowls. I love the way that the kind of jowl sags back here to show his age, and the ways, like, I guess the just skin on his chin has dropped a tiny bit, which happens. Looks super good. Another thing could be the, you know, this is really good. This is getting pretty nitpicky, specific, but the texture on there really isn't a texture on, you know, the clothes. And because the texturing and stuff is so good on the face, it kind of doesn't feel as consistent when the texture on the clothing, or lack of texture on the clothing, is so obvious. So yeah, I don't know, that's just something to keep in consideration, and how you could make that a little more realistic. I like the kind of Rembrandt style lighting works really well for it might be useful because this ear kind of just feels really flat. Like, this ear has a lot of, the lighting gives a lot of the shape and the contours, but this ear just feels really just flat. So, I don't know, maybe use a light over here to kind of not make it much brighter, I guess, but like kind of highlight the form of the ear. Also, there's this little thing down here. I'm not totally sure what's going on with that, but it doesn't seem like a big deal to me. I guess it would just be one of those things you need to figure out what's going on and change it if it bugs you personally. The stubble, I think the stubble is kind of like the eyebrows. It just seems like the individual hairs are a little bit like too thick almost. So yeah, I guess that's, I mean, maybe they're not, but the eyebrows definitely are, so work on the eyebrows. But other than that, really, those things, this is excellent. Really, really good job, Weekend. Keep pushing out that amazing work. So, next up, we've got this really, really cool street alley pick by Liam. This is big Glib Alexandra vibes for me. I definitely see that you've taken some of his knowledge and applied it to this, which is really, really awesome. I love his method of making puddles. It really looks excellent. Although, this kind of noise texture down here, I can't really tell what's going on with that. It's not really feeling right to me. So, honestly, just definitely change that noise texture. That's breaking up the reflection. And these spheres kind of giving off a like kind of more magical, mysterious feel to the scene. I think they need to have a little more pop. So one way you could do that is by just brightening them up. Maybe you could add a little color to them. Actually, let's whoops. Glad that warned me. Cancel. There's this thing that's pretty recent online for, it's a tool, it's an AI image colorizer that works really well. So let's just put that through this and see what it does, because I'm curious. I'm just kind of curious, honestly, to see how it treats this black and white image and if that would make it look any better. So here we go. It's made by the Singaporean government funded or something. I don't know. But okay. Let's just open this. So I'm just curious to see what this will do. Oh, that looks really good. I think that honestly in itself kind of gives the spheres a lot more presence because it kind of exaggerates their color. That's really interesting. Honestly, you could just kind of take this as an idea and use a monochrome. Black and white is a good look, and it obviously has a place, but I'm not you could go with like one color maybe, like monochrome like this is, to help emphasize these orbs and not have the puddles be as prominent. So yeah, that's an idea you could do. Just give it some color. Honestly, you could just, I mean, this is pretty cool. You could just use this AI one. I mean, I don't think that's cheating, to me at least, but to you it might be. But there's definitely some creative things you can do to help emphasize these. Also, you know, he has the like fake reflection stuff to make with an HDRI to add reflection onto like an already, you know, lit object. I think that would work really well in this kind of setting to give it some more details. And it kind of seems like you've overused the denoiser, really. Maybe that's like an intentional film grain, which, you know, totally could be, but scale it back a little bit, I think, if it is intentional. Also, you know, I can't really tell if this is just the depth of field or if this texture is just really low resolution. When something's so up close, it really just helps if it's just really, really crisp. And these tires look nice. You could actually bring them out, maybe make them a little bigger and help kind of cast some cool reflections or shadows onto the puddle, which would be super awesome. If the tires were more interacting with the scene. So those are the ideas I got for you. Definitely some Gleb Alexandrov feels, which is, you know, he's really the greatest of all time, so that's awesome. I think we have a few more, so let me just pull those up. Whoops. Do 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 do. We've had a lot of good ones today, so it's gonna be hard picking which ones are the best out of this batch, because they're all, they really look great. Okay. I'm not sure why this isn't loading, gosh. Okay, here we go. Whew. One by JC. Oh, this is the one where you did the interior mapping. That's super, super awesome. Like, that math stuff is just way beyond me in terms of, you know, like, just, that's crazy. It looks super good. I love kind of just how it just all feels like it's coming at you, you know? One thing I think you could do is actually make the lights different brightnesses, because right now they're just really, really consistent, which is, you know, okay, but breaking that up would make it a little more interesting. And right now it kind of seems like these reflections, like we're looking through a window pane, which is alright, but it's just a little bit confusing. Like you see, you know, when you hear these dots. So I think if we are looking through a window pane, you should bring back the camera and kind of show that, like show that we're looking out of the windows in one of these buildings. so that makes these little dots, reflections, make more sense. What's down here? I mean, in my mind, this whole thing is above, the ground level. So having a really bright light, I mean, it's not an issue. I'm just sort of curious what it is, and you could probably do a little more with the scene to kind of, I don't know, show that coming through, or give that a little more, make that have a little more sense, This orange color here looks awesome. I don't know what it is actually, but you could just like utilize it in other places. Ooh, denoising. Looks like you've used the Intel Open Image Denoise, which is super good. Or maybe NVIDIA one. Both are pretty alright. But you should, even if it costs a bit of render time, like few hours, it's worth it to get rid of this. Because right now that is just a little bit nasty. Not gonna lie. Like, wow, up in here? Yikes. So that's a big thing. So yeah, I think this is really cool. It kind of seems a lot just like a technical demo of interior mapping, which is amazingly cool. But try and back up the camera so that these reflect and show that you're looking out from a window instead of just in the open air, so that these reflections make sense. And that's about it for this one. Good job, and thanks, JC. Whoops. Last one. Oh, two more. Okay. Music is too loud. Okay, I think it's fine. No one else has been pinging me, so hope it's okay. We got Parallels Planet Render, which is really cool, but these rocks are just really dark. You should brighten up the rocks, really. I think that's my biggest thing. Also, it looks like you got a lot of bump. In the planets. So, if you could, zooming didn't work, but the clouds are kind of bumpy almost, which is not how it works. They're not that. From outer space, the clouds look basically, mostly flat, maybe a few tiny bumps. I like this mist effect and how the sun streams through it. I think you can make the mist a lot thicker, actually. Maybe have it come up a little bit more, too. Like, kind of just a bit thicker, not so confined to the plane where the rocks are. And the stars are all the same brightness, which is okay, but, a lot of times there's like, if you look up at the sky, there's lots of kind of bigger stars, there's smaller stars, so that could help it feel a little more believable. And I think the sun looks good. It might honestly be cool to like, no, I was gonna say like have the actual like, sun kind of noisy, like flaminess, but no, I realized that wouldn't really work. So the sun looks good. Good stuff. Really like it. And the planet, super cool. Kind of looks like an alien marshy. type area with a awesome atmosphere. That's well done. So yeah, good job, Parallel. And I think just make sure the rocks are kind of given the love that they need in terms of brightening them up in the lighting, and decrease the bump on the clouds. But nice stuff. Thanks, Parallel. Okay, last render is by Saber, however it's pronounced. Okay, this is gorgeous. Wow. It's like amazingly good. The pattern on the wheels, it's like really professional level stuff. So incredible work. This background is kind of a noisy thing. It might work better if it was kind of like a billow of smoke, like kind of white puffy smoke. That's just sort of a creative idea. This is incredibly good. Whoa. Not totally sure what this is. You might want to... I mean, it could just be that way on the car, but it might look better if that was a little smoothed out on the edge, so it didn't seem like kind of just like a weird like banana leaf thing stretching through the side. And there's a tiny bit of distortion on the reflections, but really I think it oh, excuse me. I think it really looks alright. Not much at all. It's a good job. Wow, the grill, everything, these curves, it's crisp. Feels great. It might be nice to, because up here that gets really dark, and I can see that there's a little tiny kind of ring of bright pixels around it, but you might want to give it like a rim light to kind of, I've seen on some automotive renders, to just emphasize that curve on the back so it doesn't kind of get lost from the white up here, because it's dark color material, so that could help give the top some more form. Also, I'm not totally sure what's going on with this mirror. It looks like it should come out to here, but then there's just like nothing. So I'm not really sure how that's supposed to work. But really, this is insanely good. Ooh, it's thin. Nice job, and great work. Thank you, Saber. Okay, I think that's all. It's been an awesome time, and see you all in maybe one of the other times, I guess. It's been awesome. See ya. I think we're good to stop it.